started. Oh, it's already gone. 11 seconds into it. Some people are really rude. Get this lid. Ugh, went out. Some people are really rude about your art. Obviously, somebody's that I was talking to earlier is drunk or something. I don't know. So somebody asked me, "Why do you like comics?" Well, it's more than just what Wikipedia says if you type in comic books. Um, according to Wikipedia entry, they say that collectors like getting first issues, but it's more than just collecting the comic book or making your own comic book, as I am doing here. You can't see the artwork too well, but I'm on page 13 here of the comic book. I got 4 more pages to do for 17 pages for this comic book. Then I got to ink it and then scan it and then send it off to. No, we're not going to send this copy off to anybody really. This will be for resubmission to uh, Copyright Office because it's got all new material and stuff. Yeah, she could do that. The reason I like comic books is because I grew up on comics, and I had a good collection of over 571 books, plus books and power records and other stuff I'm working to get back. And there's people out there that don't appreciate this kind of stuff, and because they're married or whatever like that. But it's more than just. I'm not gonna, you know, according to Scripture, everything's gonna be burned. Okay, that's what Scripture says. So if you're not willing to part with this kind of stuff, it's gonna get burned anyway. So, but in the meantime, um, issues like Conan number 23 here, which I got at the comic shop for pretty cheap. Some people are charging like 80 or 90 bucks for this, but I would charge 80 bucks for this. And I'm not really willing to let this go unless I have a second copy. And mind you, there's thousands of different comic books out there. Just, there's a big market for it. But Marvel doesn't consider, the artists in particular. Well, Image Comics does. Um, but it's not just the art; it's the stories. We know it's fantasy, and you can't get off on it or anything like that. But they're fun to read, and the artwork itself kind of is a lure to get you into the pages. And this particular comic book is 42 years old, which is the first appearance of Red Sonja, Sonja. And what makes a comic book good, not only because of the art or the condition's important too, but the people are out there making, a killing off of it or trying to CGC everything, and CGC isn't that important because once they came along, everything was screwed. Uh, but it takes a lot to put into a comic book, not just Marvel, but DC, Image, ING, or whatever. You got to write the story, the dialogue, and get it done within a month's time at least if you're a major producer of books like this. But since this is 42 years old, it's 42 years old as of February this year. Um, it's not just the art. Some of the artists are okay. But if you get it signed, then it makes it more valuable. Um, you go to Comic Cons for that, so you look inside and check out who the cover's by. On the bottom here, a collector will, it's just like getting anything else. It's like an antique or get it appraised or coins, you know. But for me, I grew up on this stuff. This is how I learned how to read. And just recently, I'm going back to get my general education diploma. I have to go to classes for that. They gave me a score of 978 in English. That's good. Okay, and I get that all from comic books and a little bit of science. Um, but comic books have given me the ability to read because I can associate with that I can associate that with pictures, stories, good artwork. Sometimes the artwork isn't too good. Jack Kirby seemed to have gone downhill from there, but Jack Kirby's books are still classic because he's gone and deceased. But let me tell you something. It takes a lot. It takes a lot to put into a book like this. You got to put the dialogue in. You got to do the inking. You've got to do the title. Show the characters in front, not just their backs. Like in this particular issue, it's showing his back, but part of his front. Then it's got to go in front of an editor, and the editor's got to look it over, and he's got to decide whether or not this particular issue is going to be printed or not. And that's the thing. Comic books are printed; they're not minted. So there's a lot to say about comic books. But it's a work in progress series. Some people can do it better. I have trouble a little bit doing it. But for this is a collector's item. I wish I had 2 copies, but I don't. So I take care of this one. And if I do read it, usually what I'll do is I'll take it out and then I'll put a second board on it. And I'll take the tape. If there's tape on it and I don't have an Ultra Pro bag, I will bend I'll bend the tape so that I can pull it down easy. But there's plenty of other books here. I just recently got The Incredible Hulk 1 and 2, which is the first issue. I like The Incredible Hulk because I watched Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno on TV when I was younger. Aside from that, it's rarity if people don't take care of their comics, and there's comics out there that are in good condition as opposed to these. Okay. Eternals is a good storyline. Well, wrong one. Eternals is a good storyline. Also, the condition is important. The reason I like them is because I like reading, and that's what comic books are for, reading. But I take care of it. I don't mishandle it. I don't try and drop them. If I do drop them, for instance, I get this from the comic shop, but there's a little bit of a tick down there. It's 6.5 to 7.0. The first appearance of Red Sonja, and this is 1973, so that makes it a pretty old book. There's book collectors out there, and then there's comic book collectors. Now there's people out there that say, "Oh, he's a geek." I don't consider myself a geek. I consider myself a serious collector. I know about CGC comics. I know they're bullshit because the prices are ridiculous out there and all this other stuff. I had a big collection when I was younger, about 571 of them. Like I said before, including books and Power Records and stuff like that I had. That some of it I can't remember, but most of it, just all of the comic books I do remember. I can identify each and every one of them. And there's issues I like or want, but it's just not me, I don't wear, half taped glasses and buck teeth and, zits all over my face or whatever. That to me is a weird geek. Uh, or he's got behavior problems. But I'm nearing 50 years old, and a lot of women out there, not all of them, but a lot of women out there, they call these dork books, but they don't understand what goes into creating something like this for a serious story or a comical story. You have to write a script, you have to write everything out, you have to do the coloring, the inking, and this is old newspaper print, which they've changed recently to acid free. Most of the comics cost like $3.99 to $5.99 nowadays, but these were 20 cents back then in the day, and 30 cents, and the prices went up during the Bronze Age pretty much. And there's issues I want in addition to getting my old collection back. And when I have that back, I want to complete the series for a lot of different comics, like Marvel Team Up number 48 through 51. That's a complete story that I had. I didn't have number, what was it, 51? I think it was 50. No, I didn't have 48. I'm sorry. I think I had 48. I didn't have 48, but I got into the story when I was back then, and just getting those back was quite intense. Now, some of the other books that I have were Spider-Man. I'm not a big Spider-Man fan, but we'll try and keep this short because it's getting into 11:55 here. Spider-Man 149, The Clone Story. Now, that's a book that I want to get back, and I had in my collection, but it's a two-part story. And that's going to cost me $83 to get back. It costs money to do this stuff, not like it was back then when you first bought them off the shelf. But some people aren't into it. They like their cars, their bikes, and everything else because they're married and they're mature and they got a job and everything like that. And they don't understand the significance of the comics, even though they're fantasy, as opposed to reality and reading scripture or whatever. I like them. I don't see harm in them. I talked to a Christian one time. He said, "Oh, you got to get rid of those things because it doesn't have anything to do with the truth." Hello, this costed money. I'm not going to get rid of them right now. I know they're going to be gone later on, but after I die or whatever, somebody's going to get them. But I'm hoping to pass them down to any children I might have. But as an heirloom or whatever. But there's some golden age issues I want too, but there's a lot of comics out there to collect. Getting a full run of Superman would be impossible. But getting certain issues is, if you want to get a full run of stuff, Conan, that's pretty hard to get. Savage Sword of Conan is another hard one to get. But there's certain runs I want, like Tales to Astonish and stuff like that. I just like comics, I've always liked them. The covers are cool. I even like making my own, So, just delicately away. People don't take care of the stuff, don't understand the value of it, and the people that put it down don't know what the hell they're talking about. But there's weird people out there that are overly enthusiastic about it, and they worship it. And you don't worship, fantastical characters like that. And you don't let your girlfriend say, "Oh, why don't you sell them?" No. But there's many reasons why I, in particular, like comic books. Like my last video, I showed an issue of the Incredible Hulk. That took a lot to get. It was $280. $180, $280, but it's worth some money. In maybe 10, 15 years, it'll be worth more. But it's not just to sell; it's to keep and collect. And if you want to read one, there it is. That's why I don't agree with CGC, because it just takes away the significance of actually reading the book, unless it's a really valuable book. Then I would probably CGC it, like Superman 1, or something along those lines. I wouldn't want two copies of each, so one for reading and one for delicate reading, and the other one for putting away. As pass me down or hand me down, whatever. But I tried, I just love it. So that's one of my reasons why I like comic books, and there's other reasons. The art, the character, Incredible Hulk, I'm getting a full run of that, including Tales to Astonish. And there's other stuff I like too. So it's not just about what these people say about comics and geeks and stuff like that. They don't get it. To be a real comic collector, you have to understand what you're doing, about the character, and all that other stuff. A lot goes into it, and it takes a lot to make them. Thanks for watching, and if you want these issues, buy them yourself.